if this trip does go ahead this coming Friday, at whatever price tag, with this large, what seems to be a large delegation, would the people of Malawi be right to be outraged?
Outraged. This trip in US dollar terms is going to cost 1.2 million, according to the leaked documentation, 1.2 million US dollars. And I mean, one of the outrageous things is that there's an element of warm clothes that have been that are being demanded in the documentation that we have seen, and it costs about 66,000 US dollars for that warm clothes allowance. That would pay teachers in Malawi, about 70 teachers in Malawi. Malawi is a very poor country. 75%, 70 to 75% of Malawians are living in poverty or abject poverty. And Malawi has got a population of 22 million. It means 16.5 million Malawians are living in poverty. And for a vice president who ran with a partner, political partner, President Tarika, on the basis of change and austerity, to be spending this huge amount of money is outrageous. What I found very sad about the pushback that was put out by a public relations officer from her office was that they said it is fake news, but they did not say the figures are not correct. They did not say the numbers of people that are in the leaked documents of 15 people going are not correct. And the fact that she's going on the 26th and coming on the 10th for her husband's birthday party taking place in Nottingham on the 3rd of January is absolutely outrageous for a country like Malawi. And for context, one of the sad things is that just recently, the president of Malawi just came back from a private trip again from South Africa, where people in his office are saying over $1 billion US dollars was spent on a health bill alone.
Right.
He's 86 years old. The vice president is 75. And it's a total mess for Malawi.
And Hopeful, you mentioned the fact that this is a fairly new government. It's been in office in Malawi for barely a year, right? So when you consider how relatively new that this government is, did you expect that there would be such a blunder being made at the highest level so soon into the new administration? And ultimately, do you think that the criticism domestically of the spend on this travel to the UK, the outrage perhaps, if it reaches that volume, will be enough to convince the vice president or even the president to intervene and reach a different conclusion, maybe even cancel altogether?
Well, when President Mutharika and his vice president were elected, I was very skeptical because they're not exactly new. President Mutharika has been president before. He was defeated by Pastor Lazarus Chakwera, who was equally terrible. And he came back for the second time, just like Donald Trump, where you lose an election, another term is served by someone else, and you come back. And the vice president, Dr. Jane Ansah, is not exactly clean. She was involved in what was called the Tipex Gate, where an election was rigged, numbers were being changed, used Tipex, and the Malawian courts had to reverse that victory for President Mutharika, resulting in another election being held where he lost to Lazarus Chakwera. I think it's enough for Malawians to be outraged. I have no idea whether they're going to go on the streets, whether they're going to demonstrate, but Malawi right now has no forex in its bank. Foreign exchange is scarce. They are struggling with fuel. A lot of people are having to forgo important journeys because there's no fuel in Malawi. So for a vice president who came in on a ticket for austerity to be doing this is very outrageous. And I think it's also important for the British government, which issued these visas, to reflect on itself, because the British taxpayer sends money to Malawi as aid. And for that money to then be used back in Britain for luxury on a private visit is outrageous.
What will it mean then for the future, this trip, Hopeful? Lastly for you, I'll come back to you, Jack, and give you the final word. What do you think this will mean in terms of setting the tone for the way in which this Mutharika government and the people of Malawi continue in their relationship over a term, by the way, that started just in September?
I think they've started off on a bad note. The Malawian finance minister right now is in the Middle East. He went to the United Arab Emirates in Abu Dhabi, and he's currently in Qatar with a begging bowl for humanitarian aid. And it doesn't augur well for these governments that have decided to assist Malawi with humanitarian aid to read and hear that the vice president of the very country which is begging for humanitarian aid is flying to Britain on a private junket for a birthday for her husband in Nottingham in Britain and blowing this amount of money. It's important for the Malawian government to come out for purposes of transparency and state what actually happened, how much money is going to be used on this trip, how many people are going on this trip, and why are they going with so many people on a private visit, which is essentially a birthday party for the vice president's the husband who is in Britain.